Welcome to the Sacred Couch, a safe space, a healing place for the souls of Black folks and other folks seeking wellness. Many of the issues that adversely impact our lives as African Americans today did not begin with us. They began with our violent upheaval, deportation, and human trafficking through the Middle Passage, and continued through slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, discrimination, and degradation. The systemic effects of racism and sexism and other forms of injustice continue to shape our thoughts, self-concepts, relationships, and overall well-being. Because our story is unique, we must reclaim our narratives. Our challenges are also unique. Therefore, our pathways to healing must be authentic. We can't use the same systems and tools that were used to oppress us for centuries to liberate us today. Therefore, the Sacred Couch was uniquely created as an antidote to this long-standing challenge to our mental health, psychological wellness, and spiritual formation. The couch was made for us by us. Here we synergistically blend the scientific and the sacred, the psychological and the prophetic, the socio-relational and the spiritual. I am Dr. S. Janine Hyman, psychologist, theologian, and a grateful Black woman. Come on in, take a load off, relax. Welcome to the Sacred Couch. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Sacred Couch, where we synergistically, masterfully, we hope, blend the scientific and the sacred, the psychological and the prophetic, and the socio-relational and the spiritual. We synergistically blend it and integrate it and bring into it and with it for the souls of Black folks and other folks who want to be liberated and walk in their wellness. We integrate it with our African spirituality, traditional African spirituality. No, we're not New Age. We're ancient age. No, this ain't new stuff. It's the original stuff that we must go back to. In my disclaimer, we are not your substitute for therapy. This is information. It is for spiritual formation, prayerfully for a little transformation. That's why it's sacred. And it is for our empowerment. And we encourage you, if you have urgent areas that need assistance, give yourself the gift of therapy. Yourself the gift of therapy. Amen. So I'm not your therapist, even though I am a clinical psychologist. I am also a trained theologian with 45 years of ministry. And I'm about 30 years plus in higher education as a professor of psychology and theology. I'm also on the staff at the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology. We teach over there a little bit every now and then too. And so I'm bringing to this also years of my lived experience as a Black woman. And I'm still glad God made me who I am. So it's good to see all of you on tonight. We're glad that each and every one of you are here from the East Coast to Bishop Vincent Manyweather, the West Coast. Amen. Baltimore is in the house. Amen. Ohio is in the house. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Our YouTubers are in the house. Georgia is in the house. Florida is in the house. Hey, good to see everybody on tonight. Amen. Good to see you on tonight. Now, those of you who are on my YouTubers, and those of you who have access to YouTube, even if you're watching me on Facebook, we have created a It's actually an old page that I don't use anymore, old channel that I don't use anymore. This was when I was totally technically illiterate. But I think I had about three YouTube channels. I didn't know what I was doing. But we have converted one of those to a channel, the Sacred Couch. So if you would kindly, if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, either page, I think we have about 4 channels going tonight. Please share this. Again, this is this is birthed out of something else I was doing, and I will again give credit to Pastor Deborah Jordan, who is the wife of Archbishop E. Bernard Jordan, the master prophet, who brought me in years ago and for a women's conference, and she said, "Bishop, fix us, fix us." I said, "Fix y'all?" I never heard that for a women's conference. And of course, I'm thinking church, right? She says, "No, you'll have us all day. We have Apostle Aretha Wilson coming in on Sunday, and she's going to do prophetically and apostolically what she's going to do." She said, "But you got us all day Saturday. We're going to be in jeans and T-shirts, and I want you to fix what's wrong with us." And she said, "You have this heavy prophetic and the psychological, and you bring them together, and that's what we need. Everybody don't do that." And I want to thank her for helping me identify my niche. I never thought about it. I've taught in both arenas and functioned in both arenas much of my career, so I ain't think anymore about it. And so when I went to fix them, so to speak, her daughter asked me, "How do you want the setup for tomorrow? You know, it's you gonna have us all day." I said, "I don't know. You're the prophet. Use your imagination." And she took the lectern and all the flowers off of the pulpit area, which looked like a stage, and she bought a couch, literally a couch in the pulpit, and put flowers by it. And I'm telling you, the the deliverance, so to speak, as they call it, that happened, it was unbelievable. And so that kind of began to birth that out, begin to birth that out um, way back then, way back then. And so we also did a series of teachings for an app that was developed some years ago by Prophet Brian Carn. And we call my contribution to his app the Sacred Couch. And now we have shifted from the doctors are in 6 years of it. Thank y'all again. And my hat's still off to Dr. Stephen Gardner and Dr. Thomas Brown. You never know, they may pop on every now and then. But we're shifting our platform from the doctors are in, this doctor is in, to the Sacred Couch. And so many of you that can, if you will, whether you're on Facebook or whether you are on YouTube, would you kindly go to our Sacred Couch channel and subscribe? Because eventually I'm going to move this off of my regular YouTube channel and leave it for other things, mainly ministry and preaching and things like that. And I'm going to try to put more of the psychological stuff on the Sacred Couch. So if you would do that, I would just love it if anybody tonight, any one of you tonight would just go to the Sacred Couch. I'm going to learn how to put all this stuff there so you can just click it and subscribe. I don't know. Go to the Sacred Couch and subscribe. And please, tonight, please share if you will. Share if you will. All right, I want to, well, I done lost my page, y'all. My whole page gone. My whole page is gone. But I want to continue digging in. And I think we may have a little guest next week. Guest. But I want to continue digging into this whole thing with this rage and this anger, and how African Americans, how African Americans have been conditioned both in the academy, and in the religions, in the church. Okay? We've been dissuaded from reacting and responding. Okay? From reacting and responding. Let's see. Go ahead and go back. Okay, the sound is great. Okay, share. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Deacon Lillian. He said, well, handle the text. Okay, we gotta do it. I am gonna do some text tonight though, because it's the sacred couch. We're gonna get the best of psychology and theology. They are not, should not be dualistic. This dualism, where it's either this or that, but it can't be both, that is a key feature of Eurocentric thought. All right. And our African spirituality, our social relationships, our relationships with others, how we see the creator in others, how we see the creation, it's not separated. So we're going to do a little text tonight. Kevin Smith does a little text tonight. All right. I hope we got Mama Golston. All right. Okay. Thank you, Letitia. Letitia Daniels, just subscribe. I'll take one. Okay. Thank you, Kanique. I'll take two. All right. I hope you subscribe. All right. Go just punch it in, try to find it, y'all. I don't know what I'm doing. But I want to get into this a little bit. I was reading a statistic, and this is very strange. It's kind of like what is happening even with younger Black men who are marrying much later. That's real strange. That's real strange. You know, they're getting careers, they're getting their own places, they're making their own money, they're doing it, and they're marrying much later. I watched an old clip, and feel free to go and look. She's an ancestor now, but certainly was a very credible voice, way ahead of her time. In my earlier tenure, getting my little degrees and whatnot, but Dr. Frances Welsing, who used to be a psychiatrist on the staff at one point at Howard, and I think anyway, she began to talk about, and this was from the 80s, they're really putting her stuff up now, why so many Black men, when they get to a certain realm in terms of class and money and status, that many of them will marry white women. And there's a few of us who will marry white men. And sometimes that is to be able to be safe and to maintain that status, because you got something, a guard on your arm, and you've got something, you've got a white guard on your arm, and you've got something that says, I'm fully accepting of white people. I'm not dangerous because I sleep with one. There are all kinds of dynamics that may be involved there. All kinds of dynamics. And so thank you, Sean. Thank you, Nisi. We want to kind of like, why is this? And when we look at all of the propaganda, when we look at all of the commercials, the iconery, marketing, is to make sure, again, people, wake up, that Black male seed goes anywhere, but in a Black female womb. That's the conspiracy. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you. Thank you, Elder Sue Golston. Thank you for sharing tonight monetarily. All right. Thank you all. Again, we want to continue to pray for. She just wasn't up to it tonight. Our Archbishop Ezrian Jackson, who is still on the West Coast after burying her baby sister on Thursday. We had our own couch today, and so she'll be back when she get back. Thank you, Elder Sharon Mack, last week for sharing with her. Now, in our Africanness, it doesn't matter. That's why I have her stuff still up here. It doesn't matter whether she's here or not. But if you want to share with her in her grief and for however long she needs to linger on the West Coast before coming back to the East Coast with us, please share. Thank you, Elder Sharon Mack, for doing that last week. You're leading elder by precept and example, and we're proud of you for that. So feel free. It's right here. Thank you all who are all already shared even before we came on tonight. But I want us to kind of go back because we've been looking at this whole Black Rage piece, right? And the institutions do not allow us to be angry. If you're angry, they're going to say you're violent. If you're angry, they're going to say you're just another hostile black man or you're an angry black woman. If you're angry, they're going to say that you are potentially violent or that you don't have good emotional regulation. Now, I could show you some other evidences from other people that it is not I, and that is not necessarily my people with the lack of emotional regulation. So there's that. So we don't have the freedom. We have not historically had the freedom to express anger. And then when it comes from the pulpit, let Jesus fix it for you. Jesus didn't break it. It's a broken system. At late in the midnight hour, God's going to turn it around. It's going to work in your favor. Black folks been waiting for 400 years for it to work in our favor. I'm not going to necessarily exclude the hand of the supernatural. But where my people are not healthy, they think the supernatural is a substitution for human agency. It's super outside of natural. If there's no natural for the super, it ain't supernatural. And so we've been bred into faith that is almost fanatical, into believing magic from the myths and the miracles that we read, that we just think everything is supposed to be miraculous. There's not a miracle hardly that we can find even in our scripture where people's human agency was not first involved. Do you, black people, want to be made whole? We can either make our own way or we can keep on making excuses. But we can't do both. So for us, because anger was so condemned, y'all, from a pulpit, so condemned from the Bible and scriptures that were used, then we keep carrying it. The other thing is there's a fear that if we express historically and still currently, if we express what we feel, we're going to get dragged. We're going to get crucified. We're going to get a knee on the neck. If we fight back, we're going to take a bullet. We're going to take a knee. We're going to take a lynching. They're still lynching people, setting people on fire. Woman lynched. I mean, So there is a fear, okay? There's a fear of expressing. And if you're a Black woman, the fear is double because, again, we're at the intersectionality of racism and sexism. And if we express, and this is women in general, but it's worse for Black women because we're at the bottom of the totem pole. If we express anger, then we're going to be labeled an angry Black woman. We're going to be labeled out of control, domineering, manipulative, immature. These are negative tropes. They are stereotypes that we have begun to not only believe, but incorporate. And so some of this is internalized oppression. Okay? Internalized oppression. Put that in the chat. Internalized oppression. Internalized oppression. What exactly is that? Because there is, for me, as far as I'm concerned, there is a psychology of the oppressed. There's a psychology of oppression. Considered one of the major proponents of Black psychology, the late Dr. Colby Cambone, formerly James Baldwin, talked about it quite often, especially when he talked about the cultural misorientation of Black people and the pathology that comes with it. I remember, and I'm really going to tell my age. Thank you. Somebody just gave. Thank you for giving, probably Sean. Thank you for giving on tonight and supporting the platform. But I remember reading this book. I think it was 1979. I was a freshman at Virginia Commonwealth University. I had to take African American studies in order to find anything Black, and that school was humongous. Okay? And we had a book called Even the Rat Was White. It talked about even in science, science was done on a little white rat. Okay? And so there are some authors from 30 and 40 and 50 years back that began to talk about this. Okay? We have internalized oppression. All right? Internalized oppression. Good. We got it? Internal is something about being able to write it and see it and say it. Okay? So what internalized oppression, this is good. So roll upon. You have inherited oppression. Yes, ma'am. That too. That too. Epigenetically, passed through the DNA, passed through the genome, and generations of it in terms of learned behavior and social conditioning. Absolutely. So to understand internalized oppression, I want us to consider this, and then we're going to move into this whole rage piece and how we can begin to move prayerfully, hopefully, from rage to relationship. All right. And we talked about it last week, how that anger shows up very differently in Black males than it does Black females. And what is this separation? Why is it Black church people? Our divorce rate is like everybody else's. It ain't no different in the church. Now we're marrying later. Or we're marrying something else. Anything but our womb. Hey, we'll talk about that. So what internalized oppression is, it occurs when marginalized individuals or marginalized people adopt the beliefs and stereotypes imposed upon them by the dominant group. And do it again. It occurs when marginalized individuals or marginalized people or groups adopt the beliefs and stereotypes and tropes that are imposed upon them, the narratives imposed upon them by dominant groups. it begins to affect their self-perception. In other words, we are around the miseducation. And I'm still trying to figure out why I had to take Greek mythology before I graduated from high school. I'm still trying to figure out why I had to read Antigone and Romeo and Juliet. Mm-mm-mm. Samson and Delilah. You know, we could do anything with anything, right? Why I had to read Macbeth and why? Okay, I get it for a little roundedness, but I ain't read no black history. I ain't read no black stories. Why to take Western civilization and we are written out of it? See, or even it's in the systems, every institution, every institution, every institution. It's everywhere. The miseducation of the Negro. Kobe Cambone, cultural misorientation. Mhm. And now spiritual misorientation and miseducation. So we believe the narratives that are told to us. There's a reason why they're talking about now being able to teach the Bible in school. Y'all took prayer out of school, snatched the Ten Commandments down. Prayer been out of school for years, 40, 50 years. Now all of a sudden we want to talk about teaching the children about the Bible. It is an attempt to misorient. It is an attempt to miseducate and to indoctrinate them at younger ages. It is an attempt. If you don't have it, and I told him I would be pushing this. If you don't have Roland Martin's book on white fear, you might want to get your hand on it. And I'm trying to understand. Thought I had it here. I mentioned it the other week. I got books everywhere, y'all. I mean, everywhere. Everywhere. I need to do a whole thing on this. I don't even know if it's backwards. I've had this book probably 20 or 30 years. The pages are almost yellow. But it's by Ben Ami. All right. He says he's a messianic leader in the kingdom of God. Yeshua, the Hebrew Messiah, or Jesus, the Christian Christ. Oh my. Oh my. All right. Great, Reginald. Great. And I did tell him I was going to push and promote the book. Trying to get my hand on White Fragility. And a white woman wrote that. It's lovely. Fragility. It's lovely, lovely. All right? Because these negative tropes and these negative narration and these lies about who did what not only has bamboozled black people, but it's bamboozled white people. To the extent that white people think when we talk about anything that is done to us and have been done to us historically, they think we're playing the victim because they've been bamboozled too. They have no clue. White Fragility talks about that. So then we begin to incorporate in our self-perception, the way we see ourselves as individuals and the way we see ourselves in each other or as each other. So when oppression is internalized, it shifts our self-perception and it leads to a negative self-image and feelings of inferiority among those who are affected. Now, what seals that for us, I ain't got no good picture of this though. What seals that for us, this right here. That seals it for us because it gives us a patriarchal image of a God and a God who is a man that looks exactly like our oppressor. Whether we think that's gone in or not, it's been everywhere since you got here. We're born into this. The behavioral impact of internalized oppression is that individuals then begin to conform to societal norms that devalue their identity or their culture. Let me do that again, because then I'm going to ask y'all to participate right here. The behavioral impact of internalized oppression, all right, which also causes us to assimilate, is that individuals and certain stratas and groups within, let's say, the Black community, that they begin to conform to societal norms that came from narratives, history, religion, iconography, pulpits, Bibles, Qurans, all right, Torahs. They begin to conform to those norms that devalue their identity and they devalue their culture. Okay? Now, when we say this, that individuals may conform to societal norms that devalue their identity and devalue their culture, can you think of some of those behaviors that we engage in that actually make us look like who and what they say we are? I'll wait. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Think about it. Our assimilation, cultural assimilation. Cultural assimilation can result in the rejection of one's own culture in favor of whiteness. I mean, in favor of the dominant culture. This is a pathology among our people because we are so assimilated and we are so dislocated from our culture. This happened, a lot of it happened in the deportation of our people, in the human trafficking of our people, in the splitting us up of our people, the raping of our culture, our language, our religion. Well, we didn't even have religion. We were spiritual. And we didn't fight each other's expression of spirituality across the culture until colonization. See? We are so far, generations from our culture, that we, as Bernard Jordan and I were talking one day in this kitchen, and we said, Lord have mercy. We are black faces with white souls. Black faces, white souls. Lord have mercy. All right? Okay, we're starting to see this. That's what I want to see. I want to see some of this, these behaviors that, and our elders, I really want to hear from you guys too. Our mental health professionals, I want to hear from you guys and gals. Sorry, my language was a little sexist, right? How the behavioral impact of internalized oppression, so that we begin to conform to societal norms that devalue our identity, women, or our culture, black people. What behaviors do we do that actually make us look exactly like what they accuse us of and what they stereotype us of? All right? Let me see. Absolutely, it was intentional. Yes, it was intentional. Okay, here's one. All right, let's see. No respect or acknowledgement of other cultures' beliefs. Complete intolerance. And the people that are worse at it are Christians. Complete intolerance. Now we acting like that. All right, that's a good one, Duke. Here we go. Black on black crime. Excellent. Okay. drug abuse. I gotta put my, it's in the sacred couch. It's on the sacred couch. If y'all subscribe there, you can see my little clip on weed. Okay? But they think we weed heads. We ain't the one bringing it in. All right? Self-hate, criminality. All right? Let's see. Calling each other nigga. That's my nigga. Really? Niggas ain't, Wonder where we got that from. See? All right? Don't name your children nothing black. Don't name them nothing black, because they're not going to get a job. There's something to that. We see more of today, the expansion of it, even ethnic hair, which we done gone too far with that. Okay? Dr. Brown. All right, here we go. Look, you know I can't see that. Perpetuating this false narrative of quotas. Only so many of us ascended to certain roles. False quotas. Only so many of us can get there in certain roles. Only so many of us can get to certain class status. Only a few. I remember, Dr. Brown, I remember, actually one of my students, I remember when I was at VCU, they told us, I think we had maybe 800-900 people that were psych majors, another good number of people who were pre-med, wanted to go into psychiatry. And they said they would get 2,000 to 3,000 applicants for their graduate program. But they would take only 18 to 30 people. Now, you know who they were really trying to say only a few of y'all can get to certain status. That's, yeah. We don't even know how much, we don't know how much we have incorporated that into our belief system. So we don't believe certain things are attainable to us. Okay? All right? Kanique says living on government assistance. Y'all know they had us believing that we were the greatest people on welfare. Mm-mm. 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 Public housing, all of that is systemic. It wasn't even made for us. All right? Here we go. All right? Okay? All right? When we get there, we close the door behind us. I could do a whole thing on that. I could do a whole thing on that. We close the door behind us out of fear of rocking the boat. If, oh Lord, I got to find something. You triggering thought. That's a whole nother. Because when you get there, if you're there and you are still black, you may not get to stay there. The pressure to assimilate, the pressure to say I'm not dangerous, the pressure to say, Lord, I wish I could think of the name of that film. We did it, I think, one of our last things on The Doctors Are In. Oh God, Some Kind of Baby. I wish I could. And the guy is sitting there with black, white guys, old film, sitting there with black people in there cleaning some black people at the table. They say, hey, listen, who we go after? We go after the smartest and the brightest black in the ghetto. We have to pull them out. They want to be like us so bad, and they want to be with us so bad, that if we make it easy for them, if we can get them out so that they never empower and never use their brilliance and their culture and their resources and their power to empower these. We need to keep these people here. So we need to get the baddest and the brightest, whether it's in sports, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in politics. There is a reason. Number one, they're gonna make money off of our brilliance. But number two, we need to get you out so that you cannot empower, you cannot infuse, and you cannot direct other people out. Okay? And then we got to shut that door and prove that we are not like them, that we're safe and we're grateful. Okay? And we safe and we are grateful. Okay? All right? Absolutely, Dee Dee. Public housing wasn't even made for us. But that's what we see. Even look at the pictures that they send us in Africa. Okay? Oh, that's a good one. That they send us in Africa. When I went to Africa, I didn't see half of none of that. Actually, the place I stayed on was a house. I think 12 of us stayed in that house. 2 to a bedroom, a bathroom in every bedroom, overlooking the Indian Ocean. I went out on the Indian Ocean on the balcony every morning at daybreak and communed with the God of nature and understood the nature of God. I saw some of the poverty, but all of that is to make us believe that we are relegated to that. And the only way we can get out of that is that our slave master, whether he looked like Jesus on y'all Bible and y'all Sunday school card, that our slave master is our only hope, and our only hope to ascend and to thrive is whiteness. Okay? This is internalized oppression. The TV is running. Social media is running. The education is running. The spiritual miseducation is running. The cultural misorientation is running. So we conform to societal norms that devalue our identity. I was hoping that somebody was going to, okay, I was hoping that somebody was going to talk about the way that many of our Black men act, the way they look, the way they act, and the way many of our Black women act. Those of you that are in a part of the D9 that they are now trying to demonize, y'all better wake up. Other than the Black church and maybe one other institution, I don't know about HBCUs, but I think the D9 is among about the third largest Black organization that is community centered. All right, that is community service centered on serving our own people. Third largest, and they all educated. Why you think they starting to get you to denounce this stuff? And we buy right into it in the name of Jesus Christ. There's a reason, people. It is a form of internalized oppression and cultural assimilation that makes us reject our own culture in favor of the dominant culture. I was hoping, even as I look at the probate shows and stuff, and I look at how we look, I said, oh God, back in my day, I'm an old Delta. Back in my day, I wish we would look like that. I mean, we are conforming to it even in education, even in higher education. All right. Thank you, whoever just sent something, and it probably was one of the twins. But thank you for giving. All right. The mental health effects. Internalized oppression is linked to increased anxiety, increased depression, increased low self-esteem. Okay. And I'm going to add to it an increase in, let me do it this way. Probably more borderline personality disruptions. I ain't gonna call it a disorder just yet. And we call all kinds of stuff. All right. So we're gonna see that. And there. Remember now we said you'll remember her, Dr. Danielle, my mentor of 36 years. Dr. Florence Farley taught me early on that rage is anger turned outward, often misdirected from the thing that it's angry at. It may not even know what it's angry at. Some of it may even be neurological, okay? Has something to do with frontal lobe stuff, all right? But rage is anger turned outward, often misdirected from the source, all right? And depression is anger turned inward. And so that is one of the ways in which we see the difference in rage and anger between males and females. Okay? All right? Let's see. They left out that Africa, yo, I can't see this little screen, was the wealthiest place, the wealthiest people with intelligence and high spirituality and high community. Okay? And they still can't figure, and we still can't figure it. And it's still being raped. Now they're talking about it. There's a mass exodus out of Christianity, even in parts of Africa, I'm telling you. Because they figure out they've been colonized and lied to. And now, even on their land, and still with some of their culture and their language intact, they're colonized. Okay? All right? Let's see. All right. Thank you, Apostle Jackson. All right? So when we talk about, again, and I want to do a little shifting now in the time that we have left. Thank y'all for helping me do that. But I want to talk about it in some of the time that we have left now, what this is. I think I told y'all about this, but I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I was down at my mom's, down in the Tidewater area, and I was walking on the beach. I was walking my dog, walking on the beach. And I saw this little black guy, looked a little grungy, on his bicycle, talking on the phone. I'm going this way, he going that way. And I heard this conversation as I passed him, walking and looking around and enjoying, again, the water and the sun and the clouds. Y'all should do that more often. Your melanin demands, the melanin in you demands the melanin from the sun. Those of you who are seers and prophetic people, there's something about being in the sun that activates your intuition. It's something about the melanin and what's in the sun that activates your intuition. You want to really get prophetically accurate, spend more time outside in the sun. But I'm out in the sun doing my thing, right? And I hear this guy say, all she want is a bunch of child support. I can't stand her. So now I'm like this, right? I'm like, I don't know how much child support she getting. You riding a raggedy bike and looking a little rough, bro, like you ain't shaved in a minute, that's all she want, is child support, okay? Isn't it a negative stereotype and a negative trope, black women, black men, that all black women want is your money? And if you ain't got no money, you ought to know that from those of you who came from two-parent households. For most of us, that wasn't the case. My mama made more money as a teacher than my daddy did as a chemical operator. So, That's part of the negative trope. We don't want you unless you have a bunch of money, okay? And so my eyebrow kind of went up like this when I heard it. I kept walking, and by then he's straddling the bicycle, kind of walking and talking, right? Straddling the bike, his feet are on the ground. And he said, I can't stand a black woman. A black woman ain't. Y'all, I ain't lying. I swear. I looked up like, what did he just say? And in the clouds, this was a moment. And I shared it with my spiritual dad, Dr. John Kinney. I told him, Dad, I said, you ain't gonna believe what I saw. But when my head went up in the sky, I began to see they were transparent, faces upon faces upon faces of black women in the clouds. And it was as if that cloud of witnesses was saying, speak to this. Speak for us. And I'm not lying, y'all. My head said, and kept going. And before I knew it, this rage came over me. Rage. Now I got my dog. Now my dog used to make a whole lot of noise. Their dog was like this. Oh shoot. This ain't gonna be good. I ain't saying nothing. He laid on down, laid on down like that. But I said, what did you say? And I could feel my jaws. Pastor Danielle, my 51st and Sansom Street in Philly came out. You been there? It came out. And I started doing the Philly neck. What did you say? And I said, if a black, yeah, that's it, the bishop, no. If a black woman ain't, your mammy ain't. And if your mammy ain't, I went in. I don't know when I went in like that. It's probably been 40 years. Maybe 50. Okay? I had P-Town and West Philly on me. All right? And I said, so are you saying your mammy ain't? I went in. And I said, everything that's wrong with a black woman, something like you did it. And so the guy on the phone must have said to him, who is that? He said, oh, no, some old crazy bitch. I said, you called me up. Yes, I did. Hand all y'all. You called me up. Yes, sir. I went in. It was so primal. It wasn't even my battle, but it was. And I said, if you say another word to me and disrespect another black woman, including your mammy, I'm going to beat you like a man. And I'm telling y'all, whatever all of that was that I experienced in the great cloud of witnesses, the rage came on me. And I said, God, I'm glad I didn't. He didn't press my button. That wasn't my button. That was an ancestral button. It was an ancestral button. That's why I saw all of those faces in the clouds. I didn't know these women, but I could tell they were from antiquity back. See? And I said, God, if I had jumped on that man, this ain't my battle. I don't know who the wife is. Well, it probably wasn't the wife. It was child support. He riding a bike down on the waterfront. Okay? Don't even look, clothes not clean, not kept at all. Not my battle. And I said, God, if I had jumped on him, I'd have beat him till the blood came out. And y'all said, ooh, ooh, oh, see, even some of, it's kind of funny, but even some of you are uncomfortable with that experience. And my heart was beating out of my chest, and so when I said, I'll beat you like a man. I ain't gonna start beating. I ain't gonna stop beating you till I see blood, And so he just kind of looked at me like, what? Then I bucked on him, y'all. I was like, now say something. I say something else. He got right on that bike and drove off. And when I finished, my heart was beating out of my chest. It's interesting, my dog never responded. My dog was very territorial. Even the dog could feel vibes, can feel frequencies. See? When I finished, my heart's beating out of my chest, and I'm like, what just happened? I don't know that guy. I don't know the lady. I don't know the children. What was that I just saw in the clouds? Seeing that we are so compassed about with great cloud of witnesses. And when I gave it to Dr. Kenny, literally, just start speaking in tongues on the telephone. And he was like, you don't know what that was? He said, that wasn't yours. That was the cry of women through the ages. Speak against this. And as I begin to continue to walk and say, what was that? What just happened to me? What the world? What the world? And I heard the Spirit speak to me, Bishop Larry Branch, and say to me, I'm going to show you what is one of the underlying unconscious thoughts in the collective of Black people. A Black woman ain't. Think about it. That's why I said our anger, both male and female, is justified. I'm going to give it to you by scripture in a minute. Because we need to begin to do now is understand how we have internalized oppression and how we are now carrying out self-fulfilling prophecies and how we have conformed to narratives for us that tell us how to dress, how to throw our hair, how to have our lashes out to the wall, how to have our hair all the way under our butt cheeks, how to wear our pants all the way down past our behinds, how to show our underwear, how to, now the new thing is the long hair. They do look cute. The long hair on our men that are wearing buns and the feminization of Black men. We are teaching them to do it with iconery. And, you know, for a minute we couldn't wear hair a certain way, and now it's all over the place. It's kind of give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Whole kind of thing. Larry Branch says, we have not referenced the God in our women, without which we wouldn't be here as a people. You wouldn't have no people. In the words of Dr. Boykin Sanders, my New Testament and Greek teacher, and my mentor, he's, I think, 80, 81 now. He says, glory is between the legs of a Black woman. Glory. Creation is between the legs of a Black woman. All culture, all of it. Everything in every species must come here through a womb. Yet in our cultural misorientation and our assimilation and our religious education, it is, watch the scripture, Bishop, the head of Christ is God. That ain't even our stuff, okay? We don't have them kind of hierarchies in African spirituality. Hierarchy like that is decidedly Western. So it makes those of us who are theologically sound wonder who actually wrote it. But the head of Christ is God. Jesus didn't even teach that himself. Did not teach it. Did not teach it. The head of Christ is God. Then the head of the man is Christ. Then the head of the woman, here it is the man. Now let's put the rest of the equation there. And then under that white woman is the Black man. And then under the Black man at the bottom of the totem pole is the Black woman. Okay? Are we understanding this? This is the way we have been enculturated. I put a comment up with Dr. Martha Simmons on her page. You know, talk about the villains in the Bible. I said every woman in that Bible. This came out of a conversation with our friend and brother, Dr. Theron Williams. He just wrote another book, but he's written Black Church White Theology. Now he's done another book. But we talked about how every woman in the Bible has a negative stain on her from Eve, from Genesis to maps. From Genesis to maps. From Eve being the whole problem of creation. With those two different Genesis accounts that we know of, perhaps three. Two different people, two different traditions, two different times, two different regions. Weave together, and y'all say Moses wrote it. This is the sacred couch. Now she is responsible. The story doesn't even make sense. She's responsible for the male, her husband, who was there with her. With her. But then when we get to Peter, I think it's Peter or John or someone, one in the New Testament, one of them things, it said that she was the one who transgressed. She was the one who was deceived. Can't you read? The husband was with her. And so her part of her curse is being subjugated to the man. The man is not subjugated to anything. Come on, people. All of this stuff now negates who we are, what we are, and we're relegated to it. And God said to me, the Spirit said to me, I want you to now begin to examine this underlying resentment for Black women. It's in the culture, and it is also in Black men. It is unconscious. I ain't saying all of them. And even we have internalized it, women, till we drag one another. We compete with one another. We didn't know nothing about no competing until colonization. We know about community and collaboration and communication and cooperation. That's what makes us a people. Okay? Well, let's look at this a little bit, just a little bit. So ladies, your anger is generational. Brethren, your anger and not being able to stop your slave master from raping your wife, raping your children. Come on. Not being able to retaliate without fear of violent, and I mean savage repercussion. It has gone from generation to generation. All right? But here's something we preach. We don't say it a lot. And if you didn't get last week, go back and look at these differences and how we handle. For us women, many times it's depression. A lot of our men are their anger go with their depression. The one before that, we gave the difference between mad. Tyler called us the diary of a mad Black woman. Black women ain't mad, they're angry. Black men are mad. Anger has an object. Anger has a distinct reason. Rage has an object. Mad it's so much coming against me everywhere. I'm just mad and don't even have an object. Okay? They left the violence on us. They did the violence on us. And when we are angry and enraged and we have hopelessness, here it is, hope deferred, 400 years of it, makes the heart sick. We don't know a God of justice. We taught to pray for our enemies. We're not taught the principle of why and what that does for us. But we pray for them, and one reason why we don't ever see justice here is, number one, we're assimilated, and we have now become an oppressor to our people because we've internalized the oppression. And number two, we keep covering our enemy. We keep covering our oppressor because we have been spiritualized and colonized not to pray for vengeance. You ought to read some of those Psalms where the psalmist is demanding vengeance. Okay? But we do have some scripture that's going to help us. Oh, all right, let me put this up because somebody has actually admitted to being angry. If you're angry, it's all right to holler at me. Lord, I wish this picture was bigger. I'm angry that we have allowed this hierarchy to infiltrate our thinking and not see the God that is in our women. I could take you further back to your African spirituality, thousands upon thousands of years before Tanakh, before a Torah, before a Bible, before any of it, thousands of years, where we see the connection between the feminine and the divine. I could take you to Genesis and tell you that the Spirit of the Lord that moved upon the face of the deep, that in the language that is presented in the feminine, the Spirit in Genesis, feminine, wisdom in the books of wisdom, feminine, justice, feminine, nurture, feminine, prophecy on a feminine frequency. When it gets to the Greeks, it goes from the ruach to pneuma, which is neutral, neuter. And then when it goes from pneuma to spiritus, Latin, Rome, is masculine. We've been bamboozled. We've been bamboozled. Okay? Yeah, we keep covering our enemy because we have been colonized. And I can tell you something. Until we put women back in their places, my people will continue to suffer and be under judgment. You heard it first here. All right. We've only got a few minutes left. Well, this is interesting. Look at this. My father didn't allow us to use the word mad because he said dogs get mad. See that? Well, the truth of the matter, precious, is that anger is in most species. You need it to preserve the species. We often say anger is a secondary emotion. Fear is a primary one. A lot of what we call anger is driven by fear. But you see it in dogs and cats. I'm going to look at my fish tank right now. My cichlids in there, they be fighting. They're territorial. All of it. It is in every species to protect itself so that the species can thrive. So it is in dogs. It's in cats. It's in rats. It's in fish. It's in birds. It's in, I mean, you ain't had a good until you see a good chicken fight. It's in all of us. There's one pattern in this earth realm. One pattern. And the Creator has organized with such beauty, such distinction, such mathematical brilliance, and scientific accuracy and precision. One pattern. Everything is laid on that pattern. It is Eurocentrism that teaches us that we're the top of God's creation. The top of God's creation. Where one spider could bite you and kill you. Something this big, but we the top. First time I went to Little Safari in Swazi-Zulu-Natal in Africa. And them lions was walking past me. I said, no, baby, you the king and the queen of the jungle. I'm out of here. There's no hierarchy there. They did that. Our interconnectedness and interbeingness with all of creation. All of creation has the pattern, has the DNA, has the essence and the nature of God. This is why the heavens declare the glory of God. Till you study the heavens, you really don't understand the glory. The heavens prophesy. All right? I want you to, if you don't have it, and some of you do have it, I want you to get your hands on Joy DeGruy's book. I want you to get your hand on Joy DeGruy's book on post-traumatic slave syndrome. Looks just like PTSD, but it's for us, by us. Remember this scripture. And I like it because somebody say I'm mad. Okay? Thank you. I'm mad. That's good. That's good. Black women are good for the struggle, but once they arrive, they have abandoned us and link arms with another race. If some of y'all tell the truth, oh, that's good, Didi. If some of y'all tell the truth, some of you tell the truth, black women, you feel some kind of way when you see a brother on the arm of another. That's all I'm going to say about that. And you're not even allowed, you got to fake like you like it. You got to fake like you like it. Okay? Angry. This is good. This is good. Thank you. Thank you, Larry Branch. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, Psalm 10 and James 5. And my justice prayer. There you go to. Very good. All right. All right. Let's talk about this a little bit. Okay, very good. Look at this. It's everywhere, honey. I was ostracized in the Spanish community for being black. That's another whole thing. They even got things where you got to check off if you white Hispanic or black Hispanic. Okay? Even in the Spanish church, my parents faced discrimination. I decided to go to the black church, and there I found a sense of self-esteem. If y'all really understood what the black church was supposed to be, it's assimilated now. It's supposed to be a refuge. I could carry that somewhere else and tell y'all who y'all really are, who we really are, and who we're supposed to be to this nation. Okay? How many of you heard this one? Be angry and sin not. Be angry. We'll mention it and keep on going. And then with the same mouth and the same Bible, we'll condemn you for not dealing with your anger. We really got to deal with this, black men. The resentment that we secretly have for black women. It's not intentional. It's unconscious. Because everything that they say a black woman ain't, that a man is supposed to be, the black woman has it. She birthed it. So there's that tension where you're told, I'm the head. God did it this way. And I can't be the head nowhere else but in this house and in this church. God did it that way. This is God's intention. It ain't that way nowhere else, but it's God's intention. So on the one hand, we have told you that you were next to Christ, and Christ is next to God, and the woman is under you. We weaponize scripture to do it. But we don't give you any God skills because you don't need God skills when you are privileged. Okay? Just look at the present administration. You don't need any social skills. You're privileged. You're rich. You're male. You're white. You don't need any emotional intelligence. You don't need any of it. You don't need it because you're privileged. And so you got this male privilege. James Brown say, it's a man's world. Ain't nothing without a woman in it. He got that part right. All right? That song blew up. It's a man's world. Come on. It's generations of it. And now we have incorporated it. All right? But I want us to see this here. When you're privileged and you are superior and you say, well, they're created equal, but for the sake of order in the home and in the church, God put the man in charge. When it's a known fact, and this is statistical, and it's long statistical evidence, that women tend to be more spiritual than men. So if the woman is more spiritual than men, more intuitive than men, Many times, um, more a few things than men, and then some things men actually catch up with as they mature. If a woman is more spiritually mature than a man, why you need somebody less mature than you to be your head? It's the gaslight of the century. So we don't give you any skills to do that because you're privileged. You don't have to have them. But the woman is taught all of these skills. The black girl is taught all of these skills. The girl is taught all of these skills that they have to do in order to make it through the world, or in order to be chosen, or in order to be married, or in order to be labeled a good mother, a good wife, a good worker, a good assistant, a good daughter, a good this. We start early. You been a good boy? Yes. Make the children lie like a dog. You been a good girl? Yes. All right. So we're trying to turn out products. So here we tell you you're the spiritual head, but the thing that you're the head over has the spiritual hardware and software, because she's been socialized that way. And if she's in tune to her divine feminine and she's embraced her divine masculine and knows how to do that, y'all say soft. We didn't come from no softness. That's a European designation. You got to have a soft woman. We funny. We don't know how much of this narrative. So if the person who's supposed to be beneath you has what you don't have, then there's a secret envy. It's the same thing with racism. It's the same spirit. It's the same systemic stuff. It's the same institutionalized stuff. It's the same stuff. If the people that's under you have the stuff that you don't have, then you secretly envy them and resent them. And you must dominate them and subjugate them to keep yourself on top, because you need, as Dr. Kenny says, you need the lower people beneath you to validate your superiority and your supremacy. You're none of that without something under you to dominate. So you envy and you resent what you dominate. You dominate it so that it can't ever show that it has what you don't have yet. Y'all see it? If you see it, say I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to understand. Okay. All right. Here we go. Well, there is just about some truth to that. All right. We proved them wrong. Everything they said we couldn't do, we coming up and at them. And to show you they scared of it, they would choose a convicted criminal over a qualified woman of some African descent, of any kind of color descent. All right. Be angry. Yeah, we're going to start to understand. Good, Mary Do. Good, Sandra. Good, Kimberly. All right. Be angry and sin not. Why aren't we encouraged to be angry? On this show, I'm going to encourage you to identify your anger. Be angry and sin not. Okay? Be angry and sin not. I want you to be angry and sin not. Shaul, or Paul, all these European names in the New Testament. Interesting. Wrote Ephesians from a Roman prison. And he writes it to a community living under occupational, under the influence and the culture of Roman Empire, navigating their cultural erasure, their economic exclusion. Sound like us, doesn't it? And the psychological violence of the empire. That context matters, y'all, because what he wrote was not for pastoral comfort. It was a command issued to a people who had every reason to be angry. and every institutional reason to suppress that anger. Did we get it? They had every reason to be angry. There's people that he's writing to. They're living under occupation, navigating culturally racial, economic exclusion, inequities, and the psychological violence of the empire. That's the context. Context matters. We just preaching stuff, but context matters. He writes from a Roman prison. So this command is issued to people who had every reason to be angry, but every institutional reason to suppress that anger and spiritually bypass it. So what happens when we suppress it? We take it out on where we think we can afford to take it out on. We displace the aggression so now that the anger doesn't really have an object that we can work it out through. So we're going to displace it when we come home from work. And we're going to slam the children, especially those who used to teach. All right. We're going to get frustrated at the job, man, and come home and take it out on the wives because they ain't bending bowed to us, especially if they've been to work too. We're going to take it out on each other in gangs, in the streets. We're going to take it out on each other because we know historically, institutionally, we cannot express it without constant consequences. So when he says this, be angry, okay, or gizes, the kai, me, hamatanite, ho, he, helios, me, epi, du, etu, epipar, orgis, mohu, mon, all them Greek words. When he says that, they are building an argument. Feel the anger. Identify the anger. You are wired to feel anger when any of your people are threatened. You are wired, both male and female, to feel anger at any form of injustice. Injustice for one of us is injustice for all of us. You are wired, as is the rest of creation, to feel anger when your tribe, your village, your children, your women, your men, your elders are mistreated. They are erased. They are replaced. They are wiped out. They are trampled over. They are bamboozled and lied to, victimized and marginalized. It is in the genome. It is in every creature to protect its own. Are we understanding? He is saying, feel the anger. Identify the injustice. Stay grounded inside of it. Process through it before it consolidates into something that destroys you from the inside, rather than confronting the system that generated it or that caused the injury from the outside. We have been conditioned that if we address anything, we're going to get crucified, jail, fried, died, laid to the side. I love this word, orge. I love it. It's the anger that Paul commands. It is sustained physiologically, people. When it is sustained, like don't let the sun go down on your wrath. It's some realness to it. It is physiologically activated. It is a sustained, physiologically activated response to a real specific wrong, one in which the nervous system fires, cortisol levels raise, the breath and the breathing rate change, the reasoning and the judgment centers of the brain remain fully engaged and capable of directing a purposeful response. The person inside or gay or the anger has not lost themselves in the feeling. They are in it. I don't want you to lose your mind. I don't want you to go crazy and tear up everything. You may need a little something for that frontal lobe if it ain't functioning right. You got a little ADHD and things like that. You need a little something. And it all can't be weed, y'all. Go back and look at my thing on weed. Go to the Secret Couch and look at it. But these people are in it. They ain't lost themselves. They are in it, grounded with full access to their capacity to assess, to decide, and to act with intention. I think Deacon Reginald did it earlier. Yeshua overturning tables in the temple was this orge, or this Greek word for anger. It was sourced, it was justified, it was black, it was cultural, it was prophetic, it was directed, and it was purposeful. You've taken the place where it should be a safe haven for our liberation, a place for our rest. And you people are acting just like Rome. And you've turned what should be a gathering place for the collective into a den of thieves, where now you are raping and robbing your own people just like them other people. And he said, you ain't going to enjoy this because I'm going to monk up all your change today. Joy DeGruy documents ever-present anger in Black communities as a survival adaptation. And the orge, or the anger, underneath it was always the correct physiological, psychological, and spiritual response to a real ongoing problem called injustice and oppression. The system made expressing it a death sentence. Again, enslaved people who express anger against injustice, dishonor, and disrespect were beaten, sold, branded, castrated, male and female, or killed or sold. In the Reconstruction era, Black people who expressed anger were lynched. In the Black codes, criminalized Black movement, assembly, resistance, all of that. This was called, they started calling it everything. Convict leasing turned expressed anger into forced labor, called prison. Okay? COINTELPRO, look it up. COINTELPRO dismantled every organized expression of Black rage that approached political coherence. Today, Black people who express anger in professional spaces get terminized or pathologized, and Karen is going to make sure that it goes in your employee file. Okay? So your anger, don't let people tell you your anger is illegitimate. Don't let people tell you that your anger is not warranted. Now, you need to know when something triggers you that you should have a 5-level response, men, 5-level response, women, kids. You should have a 5-level response, but your response is a 9. That's something that's already there that you're very defensive about, and you got triggered because you never processed your anger. You could never say, I'm angry at my mother. That's taboo if you Black. I'm angry at my husband. I'm angry at my child. I'm angry at my mentor. Now, we don't have no problem saying we're angry at the Black church. Younger generation got no problem saying we're angry at y'all old people. We angry. The consequences of expressing it for us many times have been catastrophic. And that is policy. That ain't coincidence. For centuries, policy produced this visceral fear that we're not able to do it, but among ourselves here on the couch, we should do it. You should get your notebooks and get your journals. I don't think you should have a journal if you're going to journal with us on the couch. And just identify why you're angry. Some of it is perceived offense. The people didn't even do it like you thought, but because the other stuff has never gotten out, the other stuff has never been processed. We even say God can't heal what you conceal. God can't heal what you don't reveal. But I'm going to tell you, like a Jan Levan song, beloved, we got to do our work. You got to do your mental work, your emotional work. There ain't no spiritual work without psychological work. There's no such thing. It only makes us more unhealthy and deeper as we continue to bypass. Okay? Be angry and sin not. Sin, Greek is hamartia. All right? It means to miss the mark, to go wide of the intended target. So you miss the target. And you go wide. You go too far. In archery, it described an arrow that left the bow with full force, and landed in the wrong place and tore everything up, and the target still sitting there untapped. Right? Applied to anger, it names what happens when the full force of legitimate anger lands on the wrong target. Listen. Even if the target now is you, and you've turned that anger inward, and it comes out as irritation and hostility and depression and self-doubt and low self-esteem. It comes across as easily triggered. The anger is real. The energy behind it is real. And it is hitting the people closest to you instead of the system or the people or the incident that generated it. This is what we call clinically lateral violence. And it is what Shaul or Paul or whoever wrote this is warning against. Not the feeling, but the misdirecting of it and the unhealthy processing or not of it. You can't reason with rage. I'm done. You can't reason with rage. When rage is a part of your relationship, men and women, you can't reason with rage. You can't be rational with rage. Rage is always irrational. And it'll tear up everything around it. And still the target is left untouched. Don't let rage be your ruin. Don't let unprocessed anger at what's legitimate make you tear up everything and everybody around you. Don't let the need to be right out-trump, outrank, outrule your need to be relational. Sometimes you can't be right and relational. Right is about rank. My. Relationship says, I find the right time, the right place to hash it out. I find things to do to use up the energy. I spend it in the sun. I go back out in nature and I begin to find my breath and connect my breath with the divine ruach, the divine breath of God. I go catch a little sun. I find time to pull in and process my feelings. And I always make sure I have those around me that ain't scared to tell me about my black self. We're not going to let rage be our ruin. We're taking it out on each other. We've internalized the narratives, the negative stereotypes and tropes. We've internalized it, and we have internalized oppression. And we will negate our own culture for that of another, our own feelings for that of another. Do you have to agree right or wrong? You just have to agree. No, you don't have to always agree. But when you gotta be right, that's about a power position. Because that means the other person, you can't even tolerate another perspective. Maybe you're both right and both wrong. The truth of the matter, all of us are wrong. And about some things, all of us are right. And we're going to find out that two things can be different but also right, because most things are multidimensional. Most things are not flat and dualistic, either or. That is Eurocentric thinking. It's either right or it's wrong. Uh-uh. Mm-mm. 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 It doesn't always mean that we agree. It doesn't mean that we fake either and act like something isn't what it is. Choose your battles wisely. I think I'm going to do a whole series, probably not until September though, on the rules of relationship on the couch. I think I want to do that. I'm trying not to do it yet because I'm still writing the book. But I think I'm going to do it because we think we know how to be in relationship with people. If we haven't been taught that, then how do we know? We only know by experience and by social learning. But most of us have not been given any skills to get along with people. We're not even, I need to do a couch called Black No More. We ain't even black no more. We're not even communal no more. But it's still in your DNA. The instinct is still there. And we want to appeal to that. That we do what is best for the whole. You are a part of the whole. You must be considered in that. But you pick your battles. The Bible says if you try to correct the fool, they'll hurt you. You've been watching The Sacred Couch. You've been watching The Sacred Couch. I appreciate your feedback tonight. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all that you're doing. Those of you who are supporting the page, thank you. Please, again, if you can, if you will, go to our Sacred Couch channel on YouTube and subscribe. I'm probably gonna put some things there that I'm gonna phase, some of the other stuff out so that we keep my regular channel for other stuff. But go there. Go there. And feel free to meet us at our annual Gathering of the Remnant retreat here in Richmond, the last weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, partial day, in August. In August. Awake, awake, O Zion, put on your strength. Shake thyself, Zion. Y'all don't even know you, Zion. From the dust of the ground, the dust of European culture, the dust of colonization, the dust of unprocessed offense. We got to get the tools and the skills to mature and to ascend and to grow. All right? Get your journal. Write your stuff down, y'all. You should have a pissed journal. I'm pissed because whether it's perceived or actual, get it out of your body. Get it out of your body because it is doing damage. Because our issues are in our tissues. Again, thank you for tuning in to The Sacred Couch. We'll see you next time. Well, beloved, my assignment here tonight is up, but our journey together shall continue. Thanks for sharing this special time and safe space with us here on The Sacred Couch. Remember, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your divinity is of God. It's perfect. It's our humanity that needs healing, repair, and restoration. This is a spiritual process. It takes time. It takes work. But I declare, becoming your authentic self is worth both the work and the wait. Until next time, beloved, continue reclaiming your narrative, recovering your authenticity, and realigning with the divine. I am Dr. S. Janine Hyman. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. We'll see you back here next week on the Sacred Couch.